Hey, the fastest 2 minutes in sports is the first Saturday in May, but the Derby draw has caused chaos for the favorite. Brendan Sorsby bolted Cincinnati for Texas Tech, and he was betting on himself, and that's exactly why he may never see the field. Our friend Rick Monday isn't in the Hall of Fame, but he'll live forever, of course, in the hearts of true Americans because of a heroic act 50 years ago this week. And the heavyweight champ may soon be a big baby. Has our new boxing hero earned his title shot? Or is this just a case of hair today, gone tomorrow? Oh, somebody stop me before I pun again. We'll explain it all. After further review, it's angry old guys talking sports and stuff. Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Watson, and welcome to the show that is high on opinion and light on the research. I think you know the two guys in the boxes. Let's start with the professor, Pete Weister, who has angry Sean McVay draft face. Not even sure what that meant. Why were they picking on him? And in the other box, of course, a guy who knows how to punch our buttons. He's either on the road at a friend's house or he's being held hostage by Hezbollah. And we get you a light, Tommy? And Peter, there's a tradition in Tom's house during Derby week. I don't know what it means. Dollface sent me a text, said, if Tommy can stay in the saddle for 2 full minutes, he'll get the carrot. I don't know what that means, but she said it works. All right, let's move along.
The entire show in double entendre.
Isn't it always? I do a disclaimer every week to protect my wife's career. She wants me to make sure that anybody who happens to stumble across this knows that everything that comes out of the poi hole is mine alone. So this is the way we do it. The disclaimer goes like this. The views expressed by the host on this podcast are mine alone and don't reflect the views or beliefs of my wife and children, who are decent and honorable people who are also forced to suffer my existence. Signed, Waddy's wife. And I know, Tommy, that the avatar every week is usually a celebrity. And this week, it's a woman with a carrot in her mouth. Can you explain this one to me? Is this some horse movie that I didn't see?
Kentucky Derby related.
Is it Black Velvet or something?
I just looked for lady with horse.
Oh, be careful with that.
I didn't say in Mexico.
Oh my God. And I'm shocked that that's all you got. Yeah, don't go to the second page. Oh, that's fantastic. Oh my goodness. All right, let's get to our first story. And of course, the Kentucky Derby, and Pete and I are degenerate gamblers. We love the Oval. So we knew we were going to talk about this, Pete. I just didn't want to get to it too early. So they had the draw. And, at the Derby, the draw is incredibly important because of the setup, because you have 20 horses in the gate. You can get trapped. And that's exactly what happened. So the favorite in the race was a horse called Renegade. And Renegade was going to go off at 4-1 morning line, but draws the dreaded number 1 post. And this is just death for Renegade, right, Pete? Because Renegade is not a quick starter, a closer, so could be behind 15 horses going into the first corner. Now, people have won from the post before, but the last horse to win from the wood, that was Ferdinand in 1986. Renegade is a closer. Is he going to get trapped inside, Pete? Does he have any chance? What can he do?
Well, I'll just say Ferdinand with the great Willie Shoemaker aboard, right? And it was an amazing ride, but the Red Sea had to part like 20 times for him to get there. Boy, it's tough, Jim.
Was the fix in on that one?
Excuse me?
Was the fix in for the shoe?
That's a great story. Shoe was upper 50s. Charlie Whittingham had never won. Charlie Whittingham, one of the greatest trainers ever from out here in the West Coast, didn't like to go to the Derby. Charlie always thought it was maybe too soon, only would want to go. He was skeptical of Kentucky, too. He was an old Marine and only wanted to go when he had the right horse. But so it's Charlie Whittingham and Shoemaker, great story, but a million things had to go right. Just think about it, as you mentioned, 20 horses. He doesn't have speed. So that's 19 horses coming over on you. In addition to that, and all the dirt shoveled in your face. Now, he's got a great kick. But the Red Sea is going to have to probably part a couple of times. In addition to that, Jim, they're loading 20 horses. And these are 3-year-olds, and they're more inexperienced than they've ever been at the Kentucky Derby. You got a horse who's a pretty good horse, who's only had 2 starts. You have several with 3 starts. They can take their time, act up, 150,000 people screaming. So Renegade might be sitting in the gate for a few minutes.
Yeah, but they're going to load.
Owns them.
Pete, they're going to load at both ends, right? They might even load both ends of each gate, so they could load 4 horses at a time, which they probably won't, because is it NBC? Are they carrying it again this year?
Yes,
they're going to want shots of certain horses. So I would guess they'll load 1 and 20, 2 and 19, and go back and forth.
Go 1 and 11
between their cameras.
1 and 11, then they load out.
All right.
It's been really good the last few years. They have, in this day and age, you have 2 assistants, 2 people helping. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but if a young 3-year-old doesn't want to load, he's
and you're right, because the first horse in is going to be standing there for 90 seconds, and they're not used to that. They're used to getting loaded and released in about 15 seconds. So again, Renegade was the favorite, but now it all changes because Renegade down on the rail, and Renegade, of course, trained by Todd Pletcher and owned by Mike Rapoli. Do you have any sympathy for those 2 guys? Because I don't.
So Pletcher, it's interesting. Pletcher for the longest time had never won the Derby. He's won several now. Rapoli has not. He's had a lot of very good horses. He had terrible luck. Uncle Mo, I think, was scratched. I'll say a Fierceness before. Yeah. A was scratched the morning of, which is a whole other controversy. How tough the vets are being these days. Maybe overly cautious, especially on a big day. Last thing horse racing needs, Jim, is something bad to happen on Derby day. So Rapoli's had terrible luck, puts a ton of money into the game. Not much sympathy, except he is a Met fan.
You know what? I was being nice. I didn't bring up your Mets. Have they won this month?
We lost 14-2 tonight.
And it took Queens about 10 minutes to turn on Cohen. They're going after him already, but they never liked him anyway. He was being tolerated, right?
He's I knew a guy who worked for him 40 years ago. So he obviously made his billions, and billions is the operative word, in hedge funds, and right, Billions, the show, which I think you're a big fan of.
That's right.
Is
great show.
A guy who worked for him, again, granted, it's 40 years ago. He said he was a horrible person.
Oh,
but if that's the best, he has a lot of money.
Let's stay with the horses. All right. So the sweet spot, as I remember at Kentucky, starts, it's in the middle. You want to be like 6 through 12. That's where you want to be in the gate, because then it opens up a lot of options. So the 6 horse is Commandment, going up at 6-1. Right spot for the style. And Pete, Florida Derby winner. What do you think of Commandment?
The smart people say that the best horses this year especially came out of Florida. So that's Commandment, that's Chief Wallaby, that's Puma, even one more. Those were like the best prep races. Commandment, Brad Cox, I think, has 3, and that's one of his horses. Brad Cox, top 3 trainer. You mentioned Pletcher, maybe throw Bill Mott in there. Those are your top 3. Baffert, at one time, remains to be seen. He's now back in he's in the good graces of Kentucky. So Cox, great trainer. Commandment definitely figures.
Let's go on to the Japanese horse, the 7 horse, Dan and Bourbon, 20-1, which is a pretty good price. The thing I like about this horse is the sire, Maxfield, who loved Churchill Downs. So the bloodlines are there. Maxfield was 5 for 5 at Churchill Downs. So the profile fits the course, but he's in Japan, you run counterclockwise. How's a horse adjust to that, or do they even notice?
So the Japanese have gradually been moving up the ladder. They bought a Kentucky Derby winner, Sunday Silence, right, as a stallion, and that started their program 30-something years ago. And now they had Forever Young, who was should have been Horse of the Year, came 3rd in the Derby, won the Breeders' Cup Classic. So every year it's like, will this be the year? They have a couple. This horse is won by open lengths in his 3 races. You're at Max. The only thing about Maxfield, most of the smarts think, not really a 1.25 mile horse, but on the bottom, he's got Tappet, I think. So he's bred for distance. They're just such a question mark. They worked the other day. Both Japanese horses really slow, but They have different methods. He could certainly be used. Done nothing wrong yet.
All right, let's go to the 8-horse. So Happy, 15-1. The best thing about this horse, I think, Mike Smith.
Mike. Also, the story, Jim, is Mark Glatt, the trainer, kind of a journeyman trainer, mid-level for like 30 years. Met his wife at one of your old stomping grounds, Emerald Downs. And
Oh, yeah, sure, up in Seattle.
Yeah, exactly. They were a team. Sadly, she passed away, 57, from I think, a blood disease in February, 6 weeks later, and he's never had a horse like this. Wins the Santa Anita Derby. A lot of sentimental thoughts going with Glatt. West Coast racing isn't what it was. To a lot of folks, what comes out of the West Coast, which is Santa Anita, are throwouts because it's just not the same caliber of racing it was. His numbers are pretty good, though.
Yeah, it's funny because when I saw that this horse had won Santa Anita Derby, I had to remind myself. I saw the race and I said, "Oh, that's right, a Santa Anita Derby winner." That used to carry a lot more gravitas, but it doesn't seem to anymore. Concerns about the distance?
Yeah, so on the top, he's Run Happy. Run Happy has not thrown a lot of distance. Or at the bottom, he's Blame, who won the Breeders' Cup Classic, giving the only loss ever to Zenyatta at Churchill Downs. So it could counteract that. You mentioned the Santa Anita Derby. That's where Sunday Silence, the aforementioned, came out of. So many. Ferdinand. I mean, for a couple of decades, or for a while, California was like a secret. Oh, they run downhill in California. Tracks were always fast. And you had guys like Baffert and D. Wayne Lucas just winning Derby after Derby and Classic after Classic. But to mirror this state, California horse racing has a lot of problems these days, unfortunately.
All right, let's go on to the 9-horse. You already talked about the favorites coming out of Florida this year, and we already had Commandment. Let's talk about the 9-horse, the Puma, another Florida horse who was second to Commandment in the Florida Derby, won the Tampa Derby. So what do you think about a Florida to Florida connection here?
Well, I'll tell you, there was some early, the first time ever they've had some early wagering, and he's gone down from that 10-1 morning line. So this is a wise guy horse, same connections, who won with Mage 3 years ago. Same owner, trainer, Delgado, jockey, right there all the time. Easy use. The Puma is a must use.
All right, so that's the 9. We'll skip a couple of horses and get towards the outside. We'll go to the 12-horse, Chief Wallaby. Good price here, 30 to 1. I thought that horse earlier in the week was single digits, but experience, only 3 career starts. But you got Bill Mott, you got Junior Alvarado, so good connections here.
Okay, I think it should be 8 to 1. I'm sure I fed wrong information. And talk about similar connections.
Right.
Bill Mott, Junior Alvarado, they just won last year with Sovereignty. It looks good. Puts on blinkers. Not crazy about equipment changes going into the biggest race of the year. Certainly, of course, biggest race for 3-year-olds. But again, his number, another lightly raced. Jim, I've never seen horses go into the Derby 2 races, 3 races. I guess I get it somewhat. There's so many big pots. Jim, you were in Dubai, was it last year, to watch your horse run? I mean, they're throwing, so now they point them just for one big pot after another, where they used to race them into shape. This horse only has, I think, 3 races, but they were all good. These are used too.
So the 13, Silent Tactic, scratch. So we can move on. Let's go to the 14, Potente, 20 to 1. This is the Baffert horse. I mean, you and I have been to the loop enough times to watch Baffert win half the card, and he's got 3 horses in every race. I was a little surprised that he was only able to get 1 all the way to Lexington.
Not for lack of buying. He just bought one. You saw this the other day for Zidane for $10.5 million, which is not quite a record. I think a horse named the Green Monkey, who maybe raced 3 times and maybe won 1, was like $13 million. But he just spent $10.5 million. He spent $2.5 million for this one. Shows potential. His numbers aren't quite there.
But not a lot of history. Lightly raced, right?
Yeah, lightly raced. He won the race before the Santa Anita Derby, but so happy, buried him, beat him easily by 3 lengths. He had a very fast workout, 57-4. That's lightning quick. That's fine if you're going in a sprint. But they've all never gone I shouldn't say that. The Japanese horses have gone this far, which is another rare thing. But most of them have never gone this far. I'll trust Mr. Baffert, but a blowout right before the race, most people think that was too fast. He might be fine down the line, probably too soon. Probably the owners were like, and his owners are now such big money. They include George Soros, your favorite.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I wish him a lot of luck too. Yeah.
This one is
all right,
speed laced.
Let's get to the 15 horse. This is the Chad Brown horse, and this one to me is intriguing. So name of the horse is Emerging Market, 15-1. So good number, pretty good post on the outside there. You got Chad Brown, but you got Flavien Prat. So here's the thing. So the jockey, he should have been on Commandment, Pete. He takes off of Commandment to go to this horse. Why would he do that? And what does it mean? Should we read too much into that?
Working great. Another horse with all of 2 races and another, what used to be
2 for 2. That's right.
Such a taboo used to be, it's the most studied race, right, in horse racing all year. Kentucky Derby. People spend months and poring over it. And one trend that had held up for, I think, one winner in the 150 years of the racing, you had to have raced at least once as a 2-year-old. He didn't. Now, Brown had him in training a lot. Didn't cost a lot for the horses that are running in the Derby this year. I think under $200,000. It's one of his big honors, Klarovich. But boy, he's run so he just got up in that race. But that was his second race, and it was at a mile and 3/16. He's working great. Pratt chooses him out of Candy Ride. Terrific horse, terrific sire. A lot of the wise guys like this one too.
Pete, you and I have a friend who shall remain unnamed who loves when he sees a jockey take off an obvious mount or a consistent mount and go to another horse, and he thinks it means everything. And I always remind him, because I've been in the game and I've owned horses, that sometimes jockeys have first calls with certain people or certain owners, and they'll jump off a horse, and it doesn't mean they think the other horse is better. But in this case, it's the freaking Kentucky Derby. So you're not doing anybody favors jumping off horses here. You're going to ride your best mount. So in this case, I do think it means a lot. Like, that got my attention. I like the Florida horses, but when Pratt jumps off of one, which is a favorite in the race, a top 3 favorite, to go to the outside to, I don't know if you call it a long shot, but and also ran. I don't know, that to me was italics. I said, all right, what's happening here? So now I'm watching that horse.
The 2 best jockeys, I think most people would say in horse racing today, are Irad Ortiz, who wins the Eclipse Award every year. And if he's not going to win it, Flavien Prat will win it. I do think there was a factor. So Irad took off several horses, and he's riding Renegade for Todd Pletcher, for Mike Rapoli. I think it's not a favor. If you watch Renegade's races, he's got a powerful late kick. I think the same with Pratt. It's Chad Brown, it's Klarovich. So there's like a loyalty factor. Again, not a pity party. This horse, I also think with Emerging Market, he's thinking down the road, this is going to be a horse. So I'll ride him in the Derby.
All right. On almost all the way outside, but the last one we're going to talk about, Further Ado, the 18 horse. You got Brad Cox and John Velasquez is up. They're starting out in the parking lot, but they're going to avoid that rodeo down on the rail, Pete. So if they can get to that corner and be 6th, 7th, 8th, they're in this race, because they're going to stay outside of all the trouble. And if you get locked inside with 20 horses on the track, you're not getting through. So I don't know, this kind of sets up for Further Ado to maybe hit the board. Great post. And I think the race sets up for this horse. I'm keeping an eye on Further Ado.
Yeah, they used to have the auxiliary gate and the outside posts were almost angled back a little bit. But if you look, Narcos, last year, Sovereignty was 16? Those outside posts win. And there's a good deal of speed inside. Further Ado has what we call tactical or positional speed.
That's right.
I predict he'll go off the favorite, Jim. But it's still, this is one of the great things about the Derby. 20 horses. It'll be 4-1, 9-2. But I think he'll go off the favorite, John Velasquez, Hall of Fame jockey, inherits the mount because Irad chose to ride Renegade. And John Velasquez has been riding the hair off of horses at age 50, 51, the last 12, 18 months. Wouldn't shock me if further ado. One, loves Kentucky, but he's won at Churchill Downs. Not many have. And he especially loves Keeneland. That's your favorite and deserving.
So, Peter, because of the pressure on this race, and because everybody's all jacked up and the horses feel it too, and they react to it, usually the splits are real quick and everybody panics getting to that first corner. And so down the backstretch, you'll have some rabbits out front. In this race, because of the distance, 1.25 miles, all the pressure, the big field, tactical speed just gets eaten up. It just collapses in that long stretch. And so I never want to play a front runner. I always go heavy on the closers. So this is where now I'm going to ask you for your picks. And I'll tell you who I'm going to take after you because I don't want to influence you. I know you like to chase me to the big dollar window. Who do you like in the race and why do you like them? Because I'm always looking for a closer.
What, Jim, and it's a great race to do it. How often do 50-1 shots win in horse racing? If you follow a given circuit, maybe one every 2-3 weeks, right? In the last 20 years, you've had Mind That Bird, 50-1. You had Rich Strike, 80-1. You had Giacomo in 2005, 50-1. These are good horses, but there's 20 and anything, 150,000 people screaming. All right, so I've got my picks, and they're all the ones I've mentioned. You can't throw out further ado. Chief Wallaby, who I mentioned gets blinkers. It's Mott and Junior Alvarado, won it last year with Sovereignty. Emerging market, kind of a whisper danger horse, only 2 races. And then So Happy is my sentimental choice. So Happy will be in front of all these horses. He won't be on the lead. He'll be close. And that's the one, is there something else at work here? Maybe the good Lord's looking out for Mark Glatt and his family.
Tommy, I'm going to ask for your picks as well, but I'll give you a second to make up some names. For me, Peter, because I am a California refugee to the free state of Florida. I'm going with the Florida connections on this one. I'm going Commandment and the Puma up front. And actually, both are quality horses. I saw that Florida Derby, and it was funny at the end of the race. Your eye kind of went to the Puma, even though Commandment won the race, because you wanted to see what that horse had left. And I don't know if we've seen everything. So I'm playing them and I'm playing even. I'm going to play those 2 horses. And I also like So Happy as the long shot. So that's where I'm going. I'm going to stick with the Florida horses and then throw So Happy underneath in some of the exotics. Tommy, what do you like?
I'm going with Silent Tactic.
The horse that scratched?
He'll get his money back.
Are you kidding? I gave you an extra 2 minutes, and out of 20 horses, you picked the one that's scratched.
Hey,
you're gonna get a refund on your $2 show bet.
I didn't get the racing form today.
That's what happens when he skips the producers meeting.
We have meetings. Yeah, that's hilarious. I thought he was doing it on purpose. I thought it was funny. And then I saw his face. All right, well, I think you're going to be safe. You're going to get your money back.
That's it.
And Peter, it'll be strange for me now being an East Coaster. I think the race goes off at nearly 7:00 at night. I'll be putting my kids to bed when that race is about. I'm so used to it being just kind of late afternoon on the coast, or we'd be at Santa Anita or Del Mar or whatever, betting the thing on satellite. And it was still the afternoon. I mean, we'd still make happy hour after the race, but it's going to be a different experience for me. It's going to be dark here. All right, well, let's move on to our next story. And we go to college football, which, of course, the college football season doesn't start for 4 months, but we've already had our first upset. And how does it happen? Texas Tech announces that its new prized pony, transfer quarterback, Brendan Sorsby from Cincinnati by way of Indiana. These guys now, some of these guys play in more cities than the Globetrotters. It is amazing to me. This, we're just now hearing about this guy, and this is his 3rd school. They're giving him $5 million. So he looks good. He shows up. He's got the right attitude. He's saying all the right things. And then lo and behold, I think somebody was going to break this story that this kid has been gambling in his past. So they called Texas Tech and said, hey, I want a reaction from you guys. And to Tech's credit, they saw it. And maybe they learned from the Vrabel Rossini debacle of late. Hey, don't try to cover it up. just throw it out there and just throw the red meat and let the public have it. And they said, hey, this is our big guy and we want him to start. But he gambled on college football. Now, it was a long time ago. It was when he was a freshman at Indiana. So, Pete, that was what? 3 schools ago, 2 years ago, and 4 iPhones ago. So he has gambled since then, but he gambled when he went to Cincinnati, he bet on Cincinnati Reds games, which is awful because you'd have to watch them. And he bet on MMA, right? So he did bet college football. When he was at Indiana and he bet on college football and he bet on his team, but he didn't play because he was a bench warmer and he bet his team to win. So I think you can take all that into it. And then the fact that Texas Tech puts it out there early, but it's a big violation. This is that scarlet letter that they're all worried about because now these kids all have money. Now these kids can all bet. So Peter, the NCAA has a lot of ways to go with this thing. They're investigating it, and Texas Tech admitted it. They said they did it. So the punishment can be anything from lifetime ban, and you'd have to go pro. It could be half a season. It could be partial season, several games. It could be 1 game, or it could be probation. Now, we have already established that you are soft on crime. And when Tiger Woods tried to kill people in Jupiter, Florida, that menace on the road, what did you say? Hold on. Here's what you said. Well, I don't think putting him in jail is going to help anybody. You know, it's going to help the other people on the road. You didn't want to do it. Okay, so here's your chance to get even. What do you do to this kid? What's the punishment?
Okay, so I'll take possibilities even further. So he'll go if the college football follows their rules. If you bet and there's different punishment. But if you bet in games involving your own team, thank God for him. It seems like the evidence is he bet, even though he wasn't playing at Indiana, right? He bet on.
Yeah, he didn't play.
Out for a year. It's out for a year. So I think he even had the petition to get another year of eligibility. He'd be done.
Right.
He'd go in the NFL.
He's a senior.
Supplemental.
If you take him out for the year, then he's going pro because he didn't get another year. They're certainly not going to give him a year because he lost a year for gambling. So you throw him out for a year, but then does Texas Tech give him the $5 million?
I would highly doubt that. By the way, there is precedent for the NFL. Goodell could apply that year to the NFL. There are other guys where they somehow avoided what the college suspension would be, and the NFL does that. And of course, this precedent way back. Remember Alex Karras?
Paul Hornung and Alex Karras. Yeah.
A full year. I mean, it was chump change relative to, but they were betting on NFL games. I think it's super intriguing too. My bet is he's not going to play college football. I don't know what happens to the $5 million. Good luck to him. You better have good.
They don't have to pay him because he violated the conduct clause in his contract, which none of these kids read this. They don't understand. They just think, I just show up and throw a few footballs around. They're going to give me $5 million. There's all kinds of clauses that now protect the school. These contracts now have teeth. And especially because guys are signing for 2 years or multiple years and then bailing after a year and going to a new school and wants to give more money. And they think they can just walk away free. You're talking about 19-year-old knuckleheads. They don't know what a contract really means. Oh, nobody's going to hold me to it because I've been Johnny quarterback since I was in Pee Wee football. Nobody's ever held me to anything. So they all think they can just walk on. And these schools are going to start getting pissed off when other schools are poaching and offering more money. And they prop these kids up. All of a sudden somebody snags them and they got to start all over again. So I think now you're going to see a lot more lawsuits. What's that?
And by the way, speaking of Cincinnati, a couple of things real quick. They knew about this.
Yes,
so
they
there's
did.
He used this app. They all had to use
it's called Prohibet. No, Prohibet. Get it? Prohibit.
Cincinnati knew.
Yeah, so Pete, just for other people who don't understand this, and I just read about this morning as well. So it's an app that if you're a registered college athlete, you have to put it on your phone. And then if you access a gambling website from your phone, it immediately red flags it to the NCAA. So maybe you just use your roommate's phone or your girlfriend's phone. So, it's one of these things where they pretend that they're stopping it. They're just stopping it off your fault, but you could bet it on some. That's what I said to this kid. What were you thinking, dude? Get your frat brother, your roommate, your lab partner, get somebody else to make your bets for you. But I'm sure when he was buried on the depth chart at Indiana and they were awful then, Signetti was just getting there. He thought, I'm never going to be anything. I can put some bets on games. No big deal. But he bet on his own team. That's the thing that's weird. He bet him to win, but who bets Indiana football 3 years ago? I don't know. He was there, so he knew, and I think he won those bets. And they have some ridiculous threshold, like $800 total. If you bet more than that, it rises to a different level. And I love this. I love the chaos. I love the mess. You give a bunch of knucklehead 18-year-olds unlimited money, and now you can gamble on your phone. You don't even have to get out of bed in the morning. And now they're shocked that this is happening. Guaranteed this isn't the only guy. Remember, we just went through a point shaving scandal in basketball, and those guys got life sentences. They're gone. So it's just going to keep happening because these guys have money and no judgment. Wow, what could go wrong there?
Jim, reports are he made thousands of bets. Reports are he wasn't betting a lot, but he was betting often. He was betting on balls and strikes at Cincinnati Red games. As little, they say, as under $1. You think he had a problem? He's an action. What we call an action master, right?
Hey, like you and I say, Pete, you and I always say, I don't have a gambling problem. I
have a winning problem.
That's right. I have a winning problem. I don't know. It's another guy stepping on his dick, and then he says, I'm a victim and I'm going to rehab. I mean, what do they do at rehab? Every time you reach for your phone, they slap you with a ruler. I mean, how do they get that? If you're a competitive athlete, you're going to have that gambling gene because you want to beat the house. That's what you do. You think Michael Jordan would have been the same guy if he wasn't the gambler that he was? Everything had to mean something to him. All of these guys, they need money on it, or it doesn't. I have a friend who played college golf, and he was pretty good. Played at Arizona. He's still a stick. He's an old guy now, but I have never played a round of golf with this guy without him betting, pressing, doubling down, giving me ridiculous odds. I go, dude, I just want to play today. And he go, I'll give you 5-1. Well, now I'm getting hooked. I get hooked on that because I'm a gambler too. 5-1, you're going to give me 5-1. Okay. And neither, I'm no good, but he'll give me a stroke a hole. So, I don't know what you do. Here's what I do with a kid. I keep him out 3 games. Because you've got to make an example out of him. But then you're going to burn Texas Tech. You're going to start messing with college football. If you go death penalty on this kid and kick him out of college football, then I think he's got a lawsuit. I don't know what Texas Tech does with the money, if the money's already changed hands. I go 3 games. Keep him out 3 games. It sends the message. There's going to be 10 more of these guys, and you could just keep going harder and harder after them. But he's only going to be in college football for another 4 months, and then he's going to the league.
Well, Jim, we could talk about, there's so many facets to the story. What do you do to Cincinnati? Cincinnati knew for a year, did nothing. They're in a lawsuit with the kid. They want their $1 million back that they gave him. And do you think maybe they had a little anger at Texas Tech, and that's how it blew wide open?
Yeah, and isn't it Texas Tech, Pete, that has that ridiculous donor down there, the billionaire who's kind of, he's doing the T. Boone Pickens thing. He did it at Oklahoma State, where you take this program and pump so much money into it. You basically become the Jerry Jones of the football program at the university. They can't do anything without you signing off on it, because if you pull the yacht out of the parking lot, it all collapses. So, Texas Tech to me is the new school you want to keep an eye on closely and see what's going on, because there is a river of money running through. Is it Lubbock? Aren't they in Lubbock? No, we're Texas.
Yeah, Jim, there's never been dirty money going through Texas schools and college football. Come on.
Not. SMU, baby. SMU. Had to have soccer for homecoming for 10 years. Oh, yeah. Yeah, with Craig James and Dillon in the back. The Pony Express, that's right. Those are great teams. But now they're back. SMU's back. They're playing football. So, it's funny. I didn't even know who this kid was until about halfway through last year. And then everybody said, he'd get out another year. And if he goes in the portal, he's going to be a big name. And I forgot about him because he was watching Cincinnati football. And then when his name popped up in the portal, I said, "Oh yeah, this guy's supposed to be something." So I was kind of looking forward to seeing him play. But as you said, it's thousands of bets. It's not like he did it when he was 18 and stopped. Did it for a month and stopped. He's continued to do it.
No, he's an addict. And Jim, look, you're libertarian. I'm libertarian on most things. I don't think there should be prohibitions, but it was
Right.
one thing when you had to find your local bookie, your college bookie. It was illegal. So tons of people didn't do it because there was a risk in the folks you were dealing with. But Jim, when it's right here, it's ballooned it 100-fold.
So when you used the phrase last week, you could use it every week. Is when I was probably, let's say I was a bartender. I was doing turtle races in bars. I was the MC, the track announcer, and I was living across the street from UC Irvine in Orange County, and I would come in at 4 a.m. and I'd sleep until noon, whatever. And my brother at the time had graduated UCLA Poli-Sci, and he was applying for a job with the government, with the State Department. And part of his agreement was that they would come to the house and interview me. And he had mentioned it to me, but I was an idiot. I was 20, 21 years old, pouring drinks at night, not even thinking about it. And so one day I knock at the door and I get out of bed and, a pair of skivvies, and I walk over, I look like a mole. The whole room is dark, and I open the door and there's this bright light called the sun. And there's the men in black are standing on my doorstep, 2 dudes in government issue black suits, right? And they look at me and they said, "Hey, is James Watson?" Yeah, it's me. And they said, "We need to talk to you." What about your brother? And I go, "Oh, yeah, that's right. Come on in." There's pizza boxes and beer bottles, and who knows what was still playing on the TV because we had Cinemax. And then so we go in and we sit down on the couch, and these guys are asking me questions, and I don't know enough to injure my brother, and they're laughing at me. They know I'm an idiot, and then they get up to leave, and as they walk out, the veteran guy lags behind a step, and he leans over to me and he says, "Part of your brother's agreement to interview with the government is we get to listen into your phone calls." I said, "Oh yeah, cool." And he goes, "All of them?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "How do you like the Redskins tonight?" It was Monday Night Football, and I'd already made a bet. And I go, "Oh. So I had a guy." We always say it on the show. I had a guy, but now I can't use my phone. So I had to go meet this guy at TGI Fridays, and I bring a brown paper bag with cash because I had to go give this guy cash. And Mondays, and you settle up. That's right. And we watch Monday Night Football together. Money's sitting on the middle of the table. I don't do any of that now because now I'm a respected tax-paying citizen with a wife and children. But those are the days. That was good times. Because once you have juice on a game, you can never watch one the same ever again. It changes everything. So, hey, good luck to Bruce Hornsby here down at Texas Tech. That's what I'm calling him now. All right, let's do a story on old friend of mine. Dodgers recently marked the 50th anniversary of Rick Monday's heroic rescue of that American flag from being burned during a game. This is way back 1976. So it happened during the 4th inning. 2 long-haired, pot-smoking hippies come on the field. They douse the flag with lighter fluid. They want to light it on, but wait a minute. Here comes Monday out of center field to scoop it up with the right hand. And he saves the American flag. He runs in, he gives it to one of the Dodger pitchers, and he got it back after the game. Now, the funny thing about this, it happened at Dodger Stadium. Rick Monday is still the radio announcer for the Dodgers. And this is when he came up to bat. The next inning, they put up on the scoreboard, great, Rick Monday, great play. So the Dodgers honor him, and every year he brings out the old flag. That's his beautiful wife, Barbara Lee. She was always great to us. Rick and I did the pregame show for the Dodgers for many years. Rick is one of the greatest guys you will ever meet, and he's got a great sense of humor. And he always was picking on me, and I loved it. It's that tough love thing. And I'll tell you, this guy is a patriot. He's a real American. He loves veterans. He loves baseball. He does everything the right way. I'm not going to bet my reputation on anybody, but Rick Monday would be in my final 5 because he just is a nice guy, and he does things the right way. And he wasn't afraid when it wasn't fashionable to hold up an American flag. That guy did it. And it's great. Every year they do it at Dodger Stadium and they bring out the flag and they honor Rick. And, he's a pretty humble guy. And I love Rick. He's wonderful. Another Florida resident, by the way, Pete, he still lives in Vero Beach, site of the Dodgers' old spring training compound. But the thing that people forget, so, Rick, look, he's wearing a Dodger blue tie. He's a Dodger radio announcer. He played for the Dodgers. But that day, when he made that play at Dodger Stadium, he was playing center field for the Cubbies. And I've won a bunch of bar bets on that too. Because even in the black and white video right here, you can't tell, but it kind of looks like a Dodger uniform. But look at the speed on Big Mo. This is why he's playing center field. Like a flash into your screen, scoops it up with his right hand. So it was great. And we used to ask Rick on the pregame show to tell the story every year. And he would tell it, and it would change a little bit every year, but he always had the facts down. And he always talked about how important it was. And he said, there were 4 other players running to the flag. I was just the guy who got there first. It's great. I love that the Dodgers still honor him because the Dodgers have gone a little woke. They did some weird promotions in the past. But I love that they still make it. I mean, look, Pete, it still inspires me. How do you feel about it 50 years later?
I get to listen to him a lot of times driving home from work because he does, like you said, he does the radio. A great voice, still just this great, deep voice, old school analyst. He wades in only when he needs to, but it's always a trenchant, or I always learn something from him on the broadcast. But that aside, I love that he mentioned not only the Dodgers honored him, but the Marines honored him.
Yes.
It was last Saturday. They honored Monday on Saturday. And they had a statue for the Marines love bronze statues. It's like Iwo Jima. And he was a Marine Reserve for 6 years. And he said that meant so much to me that the Marines took the time and sent a bunch of Marines to Dodger Stadium to honor him. It's a great moment for a great guy. Had him in the press box a couple of years ago. Dropped your name. I'm sure you know his response wasn't flattering. But
yes, usually when people would say, hey, Rick, or Big Mo, everybody calls him, hey, I know Watson. And he would always say,
my condolences.
That's right. He was great. He ragged me constantly, and I loved every minute of it because when I was a kid, I'd lay in front of the TV watching Jerry Doggett and Rick Monday. I saw Monday play. And then and Vince Scully calling the games. And the pregame show when I was a kid was called Dodgers Dugout. And when I got to host it for Fox beginning in 1996, I remember I got to the stadium. I'm all excited. It's my first Dodger game. And they hand me the rundown. And on the outside of it, so it's just a rundown for the show. But on the outside of it, it's the title page. And it says Dodgers Dugout with Jim Watson. And I just sat there and looked at it. And I thought, oh my gosh. So a couple of hours later, I'm doing the pregame show, and we're on a 2-box just like this, and it's at the end of the pregame show. So me and Monday do the pregame show. At the very end, I throw to the great Vin Scully, and so they put us on a 2-box. I'm going to throw upstairs to Vin Scully. I had never met Vin, and I say, that's going to do it for down here for Monday and the crew. I'm Jim Watson. Let's go upstairs now to the best voice in baseball, the soundtrack of summer, the great Vin Scully. And he says, thank you, Jimmy, my boy. And then they go single shot on Vin, and off we go. So about 2 minutes later, he finishes and throws to break and says, we'll be back starting lineups for his pitch after this. So as I'm folding up my director's chair and getting my papers off the field, and we're right in front of the Dodgers dugout at Chavez Ravine. And in my IFB, I hear this voice, oh, Jimmy, and it's Scully. And I swear I do this. I look up. It's like the voice of God. I look up at the press box and I have my microphone and I say, yes, Mr. Scully. And he says, do you have a minute? I'd love you to come by the booth. And I'm thinking, let's see, you're the greatest announcer of the 20th century. And 2 nights ago, I called a girls' high school basketball game. Yeah, I got a minute. Yeah, I'll swing by. So now I'm all excited because Vin Scully knows my name. And I'm walking in the tall grass. I'm thinking, this is great. But from the time I left the field and went up the runway through the Dodger clubhouse, and then I'm going up the escalators, I start to think, why does Vin Scully want to talk to me during a game? oh my God, I must have said something wrong. He hated that I idolized him in my lead in. It was too much. I blew it. I feel like I'm getting called now to the principal's office. And all I can think of now is, what am I going to say? And I'm going to lose my job. And Vin Scully's going to crush me. And I walk into the booth and he's calling the top of the first inning. And Boyd Robertson, who's his stat guy, sits next to him and taps him on the shoulder and does one of these. And Scully turns around, he sees me, and he points and he goes, 1 minute. I'm like, yes, I understand. You're calling the game. And he finishes, hey, Cincinnati goes 1, 2, 3. Dodgers coming to bat when we come back. And we're clear. Headphone goes off. He turns around. He stands up. He walks right up to me. He puts his hand out. He goes, hi, Jim. I'm Vin Scully. And I'm thinking, no shit, because you're the greatest announcer ever. And I've been listening to you since I was asking Mama for the other nip. And here I am standing with you in the press box. And he goes, here you go. And I kid you not, Pete, where he calls the game. And this is in the TV box. So it only holds 8 people. He sits in the front row, and right behind him is a chair and my name on an engraved plaque that says Jim Watson, Fox Sports. And for 16 years, I sat right behind Vin Scully and listened to him call every game. I've said it before, the best guy I've ever met in television, was wonderful to everyone. I'm sure he had bad days. I'm sure he had no time for things. And I never saw him short shrift anybody. He gave everyone time, attention. He'd ask you your name. He'd ask you a question. I bet over the years, I brought 150 friends, girlfriends, family, anybody into the booth. He was kind and generous to every one of them. I would always give him a heads up and tell him who's coming in. He could not have been better. He took pictures with everybody. And look, you leave 3 minutes between innings, and people want to talk to him, and he would just sit there and listen. You'd hear 15, Vin, 10, Vin, 5, Vin. And he'd go, excuse me, let me get back to work, but would you please hang around and we'll talk some more. And back at Chavez Rabin, and he'd just go right back to work just seamlessly. The man knew who he was, and he knew what it meant for people to talk to him. And he just was wonderful to work with, and I loved it. The kicker to the story is, so now I have this great night at the end of the game. Again, 2 box just like this, and Scully finishes the game. Dodgers beat the Reds 3-1. Now it's the post-game show, and we go down to the field to our own Jimmy Watson. And he throws down to me on a 2 box. And thank you, Vin. And then boom, and I go on a single shot, and Vin's done, and he goes home. I get in the car, and I'm driving home, and I'm thinking, greatest night of my life. I'm in broadcasting. I work with Vin Scully. We're buddies now. And I have a voicemail, and it's my brother. And when we were kids, we used to fall asleep listening to Dodger baseball on the radio in bed, like so many kids in Southern California. And my brother, who paid for me to go to college, and it's, in our family, it's tough love. We tease each other. We don't say, I love you. We don't do any of that. We just like to tease each other. My brother's very serious on the message. I remember driving on the Santa Monica freeway, and I'm listening to this. My brother goes, hey, it's your brother, Rick. Hey, I turned on the Dodger game tonight, and I couldn't believe it. I look up, and there's Vin Scully, who we idolized forever, the greatest announcer of all time. And he's in 1 box, and right next to him is my little brother, Jimmy. And now you fucking ruined it for me forever. I hope you're happy. And he hung up on me. So I know, a long way to go. And maybe I think maybe the first F-bomb we've ever thrown on the show.
Maybe next week or some future week, you'll have to give it a little more and tell the story of what you told Vin Scully when it was announced he'd do one last year for another time.
Yeah. Okay, that's the deal. Yeah. So, all right, let's move on to our last story. And Pete, I know you've been on this guy since we found him. So last week we told you the story of the heavyweight fighter Jarrell Miller, who lost his toupee during a qualification bout, took an uppercut. Look at his hair pops up. So Miller then went to his corner. Everyone was laughing. He figured out what was going on. He yanked off the toupee, chucks it into the crowd. The crowd loves him. They roar their approval right away. Then he's inspired. He goes out, rallies, and beats eBay and wins a unanimous decision. And so he becomes a viral sensation. So I think that fight was back in February. And last Saturday, he had his biggest fight yet against Lanier Perro in Vegas. And Pete, you want to pick it up there? You know what happened, don't you?
So it was a elimination, words to that effect, fight. The winner would get a title shot, not necessarily against Usyk, who holds 3 of the 4 belts now.
Right.
But they'd get a big bout. There's other kind of small, like North American champ. And he fought this guy, the Cuban guy, very good fighter. And the same deal, Jim. He's getting beaten around the 3rd, 4th round. This guy's 39. By the way, he weighed in at 305, the lightest thing he's ever weighed in.
Yeah.
Big Baby, right? That's his nickname. He's a punching machine. We mentioned, action. People who like action. This guy's an action fighter. He
Oh yeah, his numbers, the number of punches he threw. He's just throwing punches. He's like Rock'em Sock'em Robots. He throws with both hands all the time, and he's a big dude. And he got in on Pero
Look at
at the beginning. Pero was hurting him with the jab, so then he bulls his way in, kind of like Tyson used to. Just gets up in the guy's face, and then they for the next eight rounds, they're fighting in a phone booth. And the big guy wins the unanimous decision. And you sent me the text when it happened. I forgot he was fighting on Saturday night. Yeah. I mean, this is an awesome story. All of a sudden, I'm interested in boxing again.
It's an he's from Brooklyn, New York, so they want to have his next fight, maybe against Deontay Wilder. That's one of the few names maybe in heavyweight. He had the trilogy against Tyson Fury. He's been a champ for many years. He's also about 40. And it looks like they're going to make the fight. The promoter says, I want to make the fight in New York. It's going to be one of the biggest heavyweight fights in sometime this summer. And I'm all in on Big Baby. What an amazing story. I mean, it all turned around. We're not just hyping the toupee thing. It all turned around when he threw the toupee off. He was losing that fight. He'd had a bunch of bad stuff happen to him, a drug positive before a big fight. And now he's looking at a title shot and a pretty big payday. He'll make millions.
Yeah, and you're right. He had this shot where he's a journeyman. His record's awesome. He's 28-1-2, 22 knockouts. But he had this shot it was like 7-8 years ago. He had a shot. He had a direct path to a title fight, and he got popped for PEDs. And his excuse was, "Oh, it was Viagra. I was taking Viagra." Now, Tommy texted me back channel. He said, "No, none of his tests show up with." I mean, Tommy's popping Viagra's like they're Flintstone vitamins, so he would know. I don't need that, but Tom does, and so he would know. And he says they don't show up that way now. Yeah, I mean, he's our resident pharmacist on the show. So, all right, so I think I showed great restraint last week, and I stayed away from all the puns about the hair. And, it's beneath me. I'm a professional. And then I realized, oh no, I'm not. So here we go. I don't mean to split hairs, but after the toupee incident, the internet arrived with memes. Ready? Here we go. Too glam to give a damn. Hair flip, don't trip. Here's my favorite. Curls just want to have fun. Bangs for the memories. Ooh. Less hair, more flair. The main man. And sheer genius. So I know we were cutting it pretty close on that last one, but you know me. I love the ridiculous puns. So yeah, we love Jarrell Miller. So make sure you give me a heads up when he's going to fight again, 'cause I want to watch it. He's awesome now. So yeah, I'm rooting for Miller now. Now I'm watching boxing.
It's I want to say brutal sport. It's been around forever. I'm a bigger fan of boxing than most people, but it is what it is. He actually seems like he's having a good time. He's styling out there.
Well, remember when George Foreman was serious? Nobody liked him. He's fighting Frazier, and then we were all rooting for Ali to knock him out, and he rope-a-doped him, and then Foreman reinvented himself as he got older and pudgy as America's favorite uncle. He was just a funny guy. He laughed at himself. He was fat. And he just made jokes about it, and he reinvented himself. And to me, this guy's the new George Foreman of boxing. Everybody likes him. He's got a terrible body, but you mentioned he lost a lot of weight, and he showed a lot of stamina. That fight was 10 rounds, and they said he really took it seriously. I think he knows this is the last go round, and he needs to cash a check. So hopefully he's going to get a lot of money. He's going to fight Deontay Wilder, former WBC champ. So if he cashes a big check and he wins, then he gets a title fight, and that's real money then.
Oh, against the Ukrainian Usyk, who's only said he's only going to fight a couple of more times. I think he's undefeated. He has all the belts. Well, with that, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. He's got to beat got to sign the fight for Wilder and hopefully beat him.
Yeah, and they got
Might be Madison Square Garden.
Of course, he's got to fight at MSG. He's got to, because that's just perfect for it. I mean, and then he could be like Billy Joel. He could just have all his fights there, right? That could be a regular thing. Because who doesn't want to fight at the Garden in downtown, right? In Midtown Manhattan. All right, so that'll do it for this week. It's the internet, so we're never out of time, but we are out of topics, and we know anybody who's still with us is out of patience. But I did save time. I know we poke a lot of fun at the WNBA, but oh my goodness, Peter, did you see what happened in the WNBA last night?
No.
Yeah, me neither. Nobody saw it. Nobody ever does see it. Nobody will ever see it. All right, so for Weitzner, Catlin. Wait a Catlin, Dick Hammer. Where's Dick Hammer? We need a Dick Hammer sighting. There it is. Oh, thank goodness. He's been on every show. I thought he was going to miss out. All right, so for Catlin, for Weitzner, for Dick Hammer, for Mike Rapoli's Derby hopes, for Brendan Sorsby's 11-team parlay in the Bundesliga, for Rick Monday's flag snag, and for Big Baby's hair flip. I'm Jim Watson, and after further review, I think we're going to be back next week. I'd love to give you some music that makes sense. What are the puns? But the YouTube Star Troopers would monetize us, and Tommy gets an angry, terse email. So let's go with the old surf music. To me, it sounds like the Sandals from Endless Summer. Aloha. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Peter. Yo.
Nothing from hair?